You're welcome to today's class. In today's lesson, we are going to look at the poem The Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. Before we go into the lesson proper, we'll look at the objectives of the lesson. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the background and setting of the poem and their relevance to the meaning of the poem. You're also expected to be able to discuss the themes of the poem and also discuss the figurative devices used in the poem and how it relates to the meaning of the poem. Now, stanza 1. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds sift through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Now let's look at the background of the poet. Maya Angelou was a writer and an activist, human rights activist. She was born Margaret Johnson in 1928 and in 1970. She was fearless and shared her experiences with prejudice in her autobiography, in which she entitled I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It was from this autobiography that we have the poem The Caged Bird. In 1927, she was the first black woman to have a script known as Georgia, Georgia. It was produced, and in 1977, she received an Emmy nomination for her performance in a movie called Roots. She died in 2014 at the age of 86. Now let's look at the background of the poem. What exactly inspired this poem? Caged Bird describes the limited movement or the restriction which was faced by the Black or African American community in the then United States. It also talks about the enslavement of many African Americans for over 300 years due to the color of their skin. It also talks about the adoption and the institutionalized and official and unofficial politics that allow some races, that is the white race, more rights than others, especially the Jim Crow law that oppresses the blacks and ensures that the blacks do not have equal opportunities or positions as the whites. So it was on this premise that the poem The Caged Bird was written. It was written to showcase or to depict the life of the black American in the 1920s, to depict how the black Americans were caged, how they were restricted, how they were denied of certain rights simply because of the color of their skin. So let's go back to the poem and do a stanza by stanza analysis. So in stanza 1, the poet talks about a free bird. Now, a free bird here is a metaphor for the white race. So it says here, a free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. So here the poet paints a picture of a bird that is free, a bird that is free to explore the limitless opportunities that it has, a bird that is not held back by anything. And this bird is simply an individual that belongs to the white population, a white American that has no restriction whatsoever, simply because it is, or he or she is, white. Now, in stanza 2, we now see that there is a contrast, there is a difference. The tone seems to change, and she introduces this change with the use of the word but. Says, but a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. Now here, the poet paints a picture of another bird that is caged, another bird that is restricted, another bird that is angry. It is angry because it is restricted. It is angry because its rights has been denied of it. It is angry because its wings have been clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. Why does this bird sing? This bird can only sing because that is the only tool that it has. That is the only tool that it is allowed to explore. That is the only thing that it has. So the bird only has his voice because every other resources that the bird has been taken away from him. Why? Simply because this bird is black in color. She continues, he says, the caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown. So what this means is that this caged bird, because this bird has been caged for a long time, the bird has lost the taste, the thirst. The bird has lost the fervor to explore its dreams, to explore its opportunities, because it has been caged. So his dreams only die at his feet because it cannot be allowed to explore his dreams. It cannot be allowed to explore the limitless opportunities that the other bird has. So of things unknown but long for still. So the bird can only dream of uncertain things, but it cannot do anything about it. And his tune is heard. His voice is heard in the distance, on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. So this bird only makes use of its voice. So this is also reminiscent of what happened during the Renaissance, the Harlem, all those periods that the blacks were fighting for the equal rights. You see that during the Harlem Renaissance, you see that most of the blacks in America, they use one tool. And what was the tool? They used music as their tool. They used music to sing. That was when R&B came up. That was when people started rapping. What were they doing? They started singing about all their experiences. They started putting all these things in their songs and used their songs and their music as their voice, as a tool against the white oppression. Stanza 4, it says, the free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. So this free bird is not restricted. This free bird is free to explore. He claims the sky and names the sky his own. And this sky is like, it refers to opportunities that the free bird has in its grasp. It can do whatever it likes. It is free to do whatever it likes without being held back. So this is also reflective of the whites. The whites in the then society, in the then American society, had limitless opportunities to explore. Nobody was restricting them. Nobody held them back. they had things at their beck and call. They even had the blacks at their beck and call. They used the blacks as slaves. So it says here, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn. So they had things, they had opportunities waiting for them. At the click of their fingers, they could get whatever they wanted. And he said, and he names the sky his own. So he keeps on looking for another color, another place to conquer, another maybe country to conquer, another black African country to conquer. So, and the trade thinks of another breeze, thinks of another opportunity, thinks of another thing to explore. Whereas the caged bird is caged, is restricted in the cage, and it is blinded by the bars of rage. Then we have in stanza 5 says, but a cage, we have another juxtaposition, but a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. That is, he can only dream, but his dreams will die at his feet. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he cannot use the resources that surround him. Why? Because he's black. So he opens his throat to sing. Again, repeating or reiterating the fact that blacks use music as their tool against white dominance. Then we see that stanza 6 is a repetition of stanza 3. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Now let's look at the structural analysis of the poem. The poem is arranged in 6 stanzas, and there are 38 lines in the poem. The first and fourth stanzas are upbeat, that is, have something like a happy tone, while the remaining stanzas are a little bit sad or downcast. So if we also look very well, you see that the third and the sixth stanza are the same. So the poet repeats the ideas in the third stanza, in the sixth stanza. This repetition is here as emphasis. Diction. The poet's choice of words are words that represent human life. Okay, we have words like freedom, dawn, sings, wings, leap, and freebird, which are used to represent freedom, which are used to represent joy, which are used to represent zeal, which are used to represent, limits, without limitation or without limits. Okay, so on the other hand, we have words like, or phrases like caged bird, trill, grave, shadow, rage, and these words are used to depict sadness, powerlessness, and restriction. Then let's look at the rhyme. The rhyme of the poem, it says here, since it does not have a clear pattern, the rhyme scheme of the caged bird is irregular. So it has an irregular rhyme scheme. However, it seems to have some end rhymes in certain lines. For example, we have end rhyme in the word in stanza where we have cage and rage. We have trill, steal, heel. We have breeze, trees, lawn, on, and then we have dream, scream. So these are end rhymes, but even at that, the rhyme scheme is somehow irregular. There is no strict pattern that it follows. Metaphor. We have examples of metaphor. The caged bird is a metaphor for the black race. The caged bird sings is a metaphor for the voice of the black race. Then the free bird is a metaphor for the white race. We have different examples of metaphors there. The sky there is a metaphor for limitless opportunities that the free bird has. We have bars of rage. Bars of rage is also another metaphor in the poem that signifies the restriction that the black race faces, how they are restricted, how they are denied or stripped of their own rights. Then we have imagery. Wings are clipped and his feet are tied is an imagery. It paints an image of someone that is enslaved, someone that is restricted, someone that is held back. someone that is not allowed to do something. So wings are clipped and and his feet are tied. There is an example of, is an example of visual imagery. The image there that is painted is an image of a slave, someone that is a slave. Then we have orange sun rays. Orange sun rays is also another imagery of something beautiful, imagery of life, imagery of opportunities. Okay, we have fat worms. Fat worms is also another imagery there. We have dip his wing. To dip his wing there is also another imagery that represents movements, to show how all this depicts how the whites are limitless. The whites have lots of opportunities at their beck and call. Then we have opens his throat. Opens his throat. The here is another imagery, is an auditory imagery. In this case, what it paints the picture of resistance, paints the picture of someone trying to voice out, someone trying to speak out, speak up against oppression, speak up against the evil and vile things that are done against him or his race. Then we have juxtaposition or contrast. So we see that in this poem there is contrast. The poet uses two birds to paint a picture. He contrasts between the free bird and the caged bird. So he juxtaposes these two birds to show the difference in the lives of the whites and the blacks, who live in the same society. So freedom here contrasts with slavery. And then we also have the free bird is joyful and energetic, but in contrast we have the caged bird that is sad and lethargic, and Eve also angry. Personification. We have examples of personification in the lines the caged bird sings. So we are personifying the bird here, and this bird is actually representative of humans. We have the sighing trees, we have on the back of the wind. So these are examples of personification that the poet uses to bring her message to life. We have symbolism. Examples of symbols in the poem are the song. The song is an example of a symbol, is a very wonderful example. Is a very important symbol in the poem. So the song there represents black resistance, it represents hope, it represents the black American dream. It also, another example of symbol is the sky. The sky there looks at personal development and achievement. It also looks at, is an example of opportunities that the caged bird the free bird is allowed to explore. Then we have cage. Cage there is a symbol of captivity, a symbol of impediment, a symbol of restriction. Moving on, we have irony. The most obvious irony in the poem is the fact that for a country that preaches freedom, equality, and liberty, we have, for a country that preaches equality and preaches liberty, there seems to exist a dichotomy between the blacks and the whites. And what is this? That the whites are limitless and free, whereas the blacks are somewhat restricted because of their skin color. So the irony here is that this society, the American society, preaches liberty, but however, they don't give this liberty to the black race. Not 100%. So clearly this is a reproach to a country that preaches freedom to the rest of the world, but it does not practice what it preaches. That is the irony in the poem. So we're going to look at the themes in the poem. We have a theme of oppression and discrimination. So in the case of oppression and discrimination, we see that the caged bird is restricted, is discriminated against. It is not allowed to explore the same opportunities. It's not given free rein to develop itself, to go out and achieve and, explore. However, the the free bird is given this same opportunity. So there is oppression and discrimination against the blacks in the then American society. Then we also have importance of human freedom and liberty. Now, what this poem is talking about is not just about freedom, captivity, and freedom. We also see that it is important that the human mind is free from whatever is restricting it, free from whatever is holding it back. It is in this freedom that the human mind is able to explore the limitless opportunities that it has, the limitless opportunities that it is surrounded by. So the poem also goes beyond the physical freedom, or it goes beyond the idea of discrimination against the black race, and also talks about how the human mind can open its gates and think and allow itself to be free to explore the limitless opportunities that it has. So when your mind is free to explore opportunities, then only then can you achieve more and see more. Then we have freedom versus captivity. Freedom versus captivity is also depicted in the poem by how the caged bird is in captivity, and how the free bird is free to explore and do whatever it wants. So this freedom and captivity here talks about slavery and all that. Now, music as a channel of emotion, action, and independence. You see that in the poem, the caged bird continues to sing. So what we see here is that music is a tool or a channel that is used to speak, that is used to make an impression. If for example, you need to speak up against something, music is one tool, a veritable tool that can be used to express emotion, a veritable tool that can be used to take action, a veritable tool that can be used to speak up against any social vice or social vices that need to be addressed by the society. Now let's go to our exam guide and look at some questions on this poem. Okay, now let's answer some of these questions on the caged bird. Said the poetic style deployed in the poem is A, expository, argumentative, descriptive, narrative. The answer is descriptive. Now let's move. Which lines from the poem show that the caged bird has never been free? A, it says, but a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. B says, the caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. C says, his wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. D, his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings for freedom. Once again, let's look at the question. It says, which lines from the poem show that the caged bird has never been free? The answer to this question is C. It says he's all right. Now let's look at this question. It says, what poetic device is used in the expression sighing trees? That's supposed to be sighing trees and not trees sighing. The answer to this question is C, personification. The trees are personified in this line. Next question. The poem is written in 32 lines and how many stanzas? 6 stanzas. 32 lines and 6 stanzas. Why does the caged bird sing? That's the next question. Why does the caged bird sing? Says A, it wants to entertain people. B, it is only one way to express itself. C, it wants to challenge the free bird. D, it has to make others feel good. The answer to the question is B, it is the only one way to express itself. The mood in this excerpt is best described as, okay, let's read. It says, the caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The question is, the mood in this excerpt is best described as A, ecstatic, B, depressing, C, encouraging, D, thrilled. The answer to the question is B, depressing. The tone of the poem is A, desperate, B, reflective, C, persuasive, D, depressive. The answer is reflective. Okay? What do these lines reveal about the caged bird? But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. A, the caged bird is aware of its surroundings. B, the caged bird has difficulty flying. C, the caged bird has strong feelings. D, the caged bird is satisfied with its life. The answer to the question is the caged bird says, but a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of. Okay, the caged bird has difficulty flying. That's the answer to the question. The next one, according to the poem, the free bird is best described as. The free bird is best described as A, hungry, B, cautious, C, thoughtful, D, comfortable. The answer is D, comfortable. What is the main conflict in this poem? The question is, what is the main conflict in this poem? A, the caged bird hates the free bird. B, the free bird laughs at the caged bird. C, the caged bird longs for the life of the free bird. D, the free bird cannot sing as well as the caged bird. The answer to the question is C, the caged bird longs for the life of the free bird. The next question, what does this poem center on? What does the poem center on? A, the dreams of birds. B, freedom and slavery. C, joy and singing. D, the lives of birds. The answer is quite obvious. Freedom and slavery. The next question. Seldom see used in line 10 is an example of alliteration. The sound S is alliterated in seldom and see. Okay, moving on. Read these lines from the poem. Things of another breeze, and the thread winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. This excerpt centers on A, the oppression faced by the caged bird. B, the pleasure enjoyed by the free bird. C, none of the above. D, the pains of the free bird. The answer is B, the pleasure enjoyed by the free bird. Question 17 says, what does the caged bird singing reveal about him? A, he prefers to sing rather than to fly. B, he is unhappy. C, he is afraid to be freed. D, he wants to be heard. The answer is D, he wants to be heard. 18. Question 18 says, the mood from this excerpt is. You say the excerpt is, a free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. The mood in this excerpt is ecstatic rather. That's the answer is C. Still the same excerpt, we have the expression, the orange sun rays contains dash imagery. That is A, visual imagery. Visual imagery. Read the following lines from the poem. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees. The imagery in this line suggests A. The bird is keenly aware of her surroundings. B. The bird is much happier than the caged bird. C. The bird is not confident in her ability to fly. D. The bird is enjoying a beautiful day. What this suggests is that the bird is enjoying a beautiful fly. The idea explored in the poem is A. The power of fear and the unknown. B. The effects of oppression. C. The longing for freedom. D. People escaping slavery. The answer is C. The longing for freedom. 22. How did the caged bird in the poem respond to discrimination? A. They yearn for new beginnings. B. They fly in the sky. C. They gain freedom. D. They sing songs of freedom. D. They sing songs of freedom. 23. All but one of the following imagery was not deployed in the poem. We have tactile imagery, olfactory imagery, visual imagery, and auditory imagery. The answer is olfactory imagery. That's one imagery that was not deployed in the poem. The poem was written by Maya Angelou. The answer is C. For the caged bird sings of freedom, the poetic device used in this expression is, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The poetic device used in this expression is A. Irony, B. Hyperbole, C. Paradox, D. Metaphor. For the caged bird sings of freedom. Okay, the answer to this question is C. Paradox. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this session. Have a wonderful day.